Hi everyone, and welcome back to Dynamotor TCG. Today we are going to be looking at the Lonzoroark deck. So Zoroark, a lowland muck that I was able to take to a top 32 finish at the Costa Mesa Regionals. So this is the exact list I played. It's not the list I wish I played. I would have changed a couple cards in retrospect, but thought we could go through the list, talk about specific card counts and my matchups for the day, and then do a couple games, see how it goes. So we'll start with the Pokemon. So the main feature, of course, is the 4/4 Zoroark GX line. Start with Zorua. Now there are a couple Zorua that you could play. There's this one, which has the Ram attack. You could play, let's see, going back a ways. The ideal one is this Paralyzing Gaze. Now, they're really expensive for a common. I didn't have any copies of these, and so I decided just to stick with Ram. But also, I thought Paralyzing Gaze wasn't going to be very useful. I only noticed 2 times throughout either day where using Paralyzing Gaze would have been the play. I flipped a coin just to see if it would have worked, and I flipped tails both times, so it ended up being inconsequential. And then the last Zorua that you could use is this Lunge Zorua. I don't like it very much just because it's a coin flip, and you'd rather have that guaranteed 20 damage. Lunge is better against Night March, but I feel like you have a pretty good Night March matchup already. So that's why I went with the Zorua I did, and then that evolves up into Zoroark GX. So Zoroark has that trade ability. Once per turn you may discard a card from your hand, and if you do, draw 2 cards. So Zoroark GX is completely dominant in the expanded format. Either you are playing Zoroark or you are playing a deck that directly counters it. And so that's why we saw Igor Costa's Drampa Garbodor deck win actually the tournament, because he played Drampa to discard special energy. He played 3 Parallel City to reduce Zoroark's bench size, and he played a Sudowoodo to reduce Zoroark's bench size, plus Garbodor's Garbotoxin. It's a whole lot of counters in one deck, played by one of the best players in the world. So that's the reason it won, but you see Zoroark filling out the top tables pretty much throughout the day. And so it's because of that trade ability, and because of Riotous Beating, does 20 damage for each of your Pokemon in play. So when you combine that with the Skyfield Stadium, you can have 8 Pokemon on your bench, so that's 8 plus the active is 9, so 180, plus if you throw on a Choice Band, that gets up to 210 damage, which consequently is just exactly enough to knock out a Zoroark. So, what do we pair up with Zoroark? Well, we have a couple options for the alternate Zoroark evolution. We have this Foul Play Zoroark, and we have Stand-In or Mind Jack Zoroark. So Mind Jack does 10 plus 30 for each of their benched Pokemon. Stand-In's useful for a switching ability. The reason I chose not to play Stand-In is that I felt like I could only have one or the other, that having 6 evolutions for 4 Zorua would be too much. And so Mind Jack is pretty much only really valuable in the mirror, and it is really valuable in the mirror, but on almost every other matchup I prefer Foul Play. And Foul Play actually won me several games throughout the day. I would not have made day 2 without it, I don't think, so I'm really glad I made that decision for Foul Play. Let's move on to some of the support. A really important feature of this deck is a Lowland Muck. So when it's in play, all basic Pokemon have no abilities, so that shuts off opponents' Sudowoodos, which reduce the bench size from 5 down to 4, or from 8 down to 4 if you have Skyfield in play. It shuts off their Tapu Leles, it shuts off their Shaymins, and it also shuts off their Executes. Execute is a big card in the deck. Yeah. Execute is a big card in the deck, and what it does, it has the propagation ability. Once during your turn, you may put this Pokemon into your hand from your discard, and honestly, you can do it as many times as you need to, because once it's in your hand, the game treats it as if it's a new card. So, or as if it's a new execute, because it doesn't know whether you're discarding the same execute. So you can propagate and then trade the same execute up to 4 times. Propagate, use it for an Ultra Ball for a computer search. So it's really, really versatile. And yeah, that's why we play 2. I would never only play 1. 3 didn't seem right, and you could make the argument to go up to 4. The second place list played 4, but I chose to stick with 2, just because for this version of the deck, which plays Muck, 2 is all you need. So additional Pokemon, 2 Tapu Lele, that Wonder Attack ability, also not a bad attacker in some mashups. Energy Drive, which does 20 a turn, or 20 for each energy on both active. 2 Shaman EX. 2 Shaman EX with the setup ability. Draw cards until you have 6 in your hand when you play it down. And Sky Return, which is useful sometimes in order to clear a Shaman off the board. And then the interesting tech I played was Oranguru. I really did not want to lose to any mill decks. It turned out I didn't play any mill decks, and I actually never used Oranguru successfully throughout the day. So in hindsight, I would have changed this for sure. Oh, and of course the last card, Oricorio. I did not play against any Night March, which was too bad. I would have liked that, but the Supernatural Dance, which lets you place 1 damage counter for each of their Pokemon in their discard, actually did win me a game in day 2, so that was really important then. Let's move on to the trainers. We'll start with the supporters. So we have 4 VS Seeker, of course. It could be dropped down to 3, but I think just because we only play 1 Guzma, 1 N, it's really important to have that 4th VS Seeker. So I am playing for draw cards. We have 2 Chorus. Shuffle your hand and then draw equal to the total number of bench Pokemon. So I think the largest Chorus I had for the day was like 12 or 13 when Skyfield's in play. We play 1 N. Both players shuffle their hand into their deck and then draw a card for each of their remaining prizes. And then the last one is Professor Juniper. Discard your hand and draw 7 cards. Now, Juniper came in really clutch throughout the day, especially round 1. I hit a Glaceon, a quad Glaceon deck, and off of a red card to 4 cards, the supporter you most want to draw is Professor Juniper. You don't want to draw a Chorus. And for those early game situations, and oftentimes I would rather have that Juniper than a Chorus, because Chorus would only net me like 3 or 4 cards versus a full hand with Juniper. So that's why I chose the Juniper over a 3rd Chorus or a 2nd N. In terms of other supporters, we have 2 Bridget, really vital. You could argue going up to 3 Bridget. I was unsure about it, and in the end, I decided, I would only really want 3 Bridget against Glaceon, and I don't think it's worth it in enough other matchups. I don't know what cards I would cut in order to make space for that 3rd Bridget, so I think 2 is just fine in this Lonzoroark deck. Let's move on to Hex Maniac. This was really important. So Hex Maniac helps so much in the mirror matchup. It helps so much against Greninja. It helps against Glaceon. And that was actually, those 3 decks are, I would say, a majority of the rounds I played. It also helped a lot against a Gardevoir. I hit a Gardevoir in round 4, and I was able to hex them out of the game near the end, just because they couldn't attach multiple energy without Secret Spring. And then the final two supporters, one Guzma, because we need a switching effect, a Lysander or catcher effect, and one Acerola to pick up a Pokemon with a lot of damage on it. Acerola did come in handy, so I'm glad I kept that in there. As for trainers, let's start with the tools. We have 2 Choice Band, lets you do 30 more damage, really vital. I would love to play 3, but there isn't really the space for 3. And 1 Floatstone, again, incredibly important. I would love to play 2, because I missed it a couple times, and so I wasn't able to get the turn 2 attack. But I'm not sure where exactly I would make the cut, so... As for other items, we'll start with the big ones. 4 Ultra Ball. Discard 2 cards from your hand, and if you do search your deck for a Pokemon, reveal it, put it into your hand. So that's plain and simple. It's just a really good card. You need 4 of them in order to get Lele for Bridget turn 1, in order to get your Zoroarks going, Shaymins, Muck, whatever you need. 4 Puzzle of Time, also really vital for Zoroark decks. It lets you get 2 cards out of your discard if you play 2 at once, and considering you're chorusing for 10 plus cards a lot of the time, and then on top of that you have 2 or 3 trades, so you could end up with hands of like 16, 17, even 20 cards, conceivably, and you're going to have multiple puzzles in there, which allows you to get resources back, to pull off key combos. So other cards, we have 2 Battle Compressors. Search your deck for up to 3 cards and discard them. Shuffle your deck afterward. So this was really important in order to get Executes in the discard, in order to get tech supporters. Like, I could throw the Acerola away early, and then if I ever needed it later. Turn 1, a play I did a lot of the time, if I didn't have an opening supporter in my hand, was I would Compressor away 1 Execute, 1 Bridget, and 1 Chorus. And then I could, VS Seeker for Bridget, and then at that point I have higher odds of hitting a draw supporter the next turn, because every VS Seeker after that is a live draw supporter since Chorus is in the discard. So Battle Compressor, great card, would not drop below 2. 2 Field Blower, I upped it to 2 because I thought there would be more Trampa Garbodor, and because I was worried about Parallel City. A friend of mine said that a couple people he knew were playing Sudowoodo and at least 2 Parallel City in their deck, and so that got me a bit scared. I know that I play my 3 Skyfield, but even so, getting rid of those stadiums early and often is very important. The 2 Field Blower, it actually did have a pretty big impact. It helped win me the Gardevoir matchup because they played Parallel City. It also just gave me more options, so I could have a Field Blower early if I needed to, and then also use one late without having to waste puzzles on it. That being said, in hindsight, I may have taken it out for a second red card, and we'll talk about red card next. So red card, your opponent shuffles his or her hand into his or her deck, and draws 4 cards. Red card is, in the mirror matchup, in the Zoroark mirror, what you want to be doing every turn, essentially like starting turn 2 or turn 3, is playing red card and Hex Maniac in conjunction, and that will just shut them down. If you're able to do that, string it for a couple turns. That's how you win the matchup, and that's also one of the reasons why the decks with 4 Execute are especially good at that, is because even if Sudowoodo's up, they can get all 4 eggs out of their discard, red card, Hex, and then play those eggs down on the bench. So red card, amazing card. And then last 2 we're going through. Rescue Stretcher lets you either put a Pokemon from your discard pile into your hand, or it lets you shuffle 3 Pokemon from your discard pile into your deck. So it's really important for Pokemon recovery. You absolutely need one. And another one, another recovery card I think you absolutely need to include, Special Charge. Shuffle 2 special energy from your discard pile into your deck. And then topping off the energy, we have 4 special energy, 4 double colorless, which lets you use all of your attacks in the deck. So with that, I think we can take it to a game, and we'll try it out, see how it goes. So while we're waiting, I can go through my tournament report. I didn't write down notes, but I do have the matchups. So day 1 of Costa Mesa, I was able to go 6-1-2, intentionally drawing my last round actually against the eventual winner, Igor. And so I started out, I wasn't sure how it was going to go after I started out against Quad Glaceon, but I was actually able to pull it out. We each dead drew 1 game, and I was able to beat him in the 3rd game, so it worked out pretty well. We don't want to start Lele, so we're going to start Oricorio. And on to round 2, I actually played against a Primal Groudon round 2. Oh, Night March. Oh, right. This is really good, actually, that we started Oricorio, because it means he has to be careful about discarding Pokemon on his first turn. Anyway, yeah, round 2 played Primal Groudon. That was a really close matchup. I was actually able to take it in the end because of foul play. I was able to foul play and copy Primal Groudon's attack in order to do 200 damage, discarding a stadium. So that was the difference for me. Round 3 played against Caleb Gedimer from Dead Draw Gaming with his Zoroark Lycanroc deck. He definitely outplayed me a bit on that one, but it was a close game either way, and he ended up taking it. Alright, now, let's see. It is our turn. I think we're going to start with the Bridget. We need to start Bridget. So let's see. Is there anything important prized? No supporters prized. Foul play is prized, but that's okay. We have our Muck and Grimer. We're missing 1 puzzle. That's okay. And 1 double colorless. Okay. So let's get 2 Zorua. And then we also want to establish that Grimer, because if they don't target it down, the combination of Muck and Oricorio is often too much. Okay, so we have the Skyfield. Might as well get a 3rd Zorua. Or, yeah, we'll get a 3rd Zorua. And then I'll play the Skyfield down. And we can use Shaman's Setup for 5 cards. So we want to hit the double colorless. We don't hit it. We can use Battle Compressor though. Get rid of the 2 eggs. And a chorus. Yeah, let's get rid of the chorus. And then I don't think it's worth it to dig again. Or yeah, we'll just leave it be, because we can get that Oricorio back with Rescue Stretcher or with puzzles later on, and I think it's more important to not drop too many shamans on the board. So going back to my rounds, after round 3 I'm 2-1, paired up against Gardevoir, which generally is a slightly unfavorable matchup. Okay, this hand is pretty good. Generally, Gardevoir is a slightly unfavorable matchup, but if you're able to outspeed them early and keep on like hexing, then that does make a big difference. Usually it comes down to after you take the first big knockout, if they're able to respond, and then if they are able to respond, after you take the second big knockout, do they have another thing set up? And so we played out game 1. It was super close down to the end. I actually just had to retreat my Zoroark GX so that she couldn't hit it with Gallade, and hope that she didn't have the Guzma, that it was prized, and it turns out it was in her final 2 prizes. And so then on my next turn, I had everything I needed to Guzma up her Tapu Lele and take the final 2 prizes. So that was game 1, and then game 2, game 1 was pretty long, and so game 2 we were a couple turns away from finishing, but we weren't quite able to finish the game, so I took the series. So we're 3-1, round 5 we played another Zoroark Lycanroc, so up to 4-1 after that win. Round 6 played another Zoroark deck, and won that as well. So we're up to 5-1, doing really well at this point. And with that, I will leave it off so I can focus on my turn. So I'm gonna get 1 execute back. And then we can Ultra Ball away the Bridget and execute. And get another Zoroark GX. So our goal this turn is to take the knockout and get Muck established. So let's propagate, and then we can use Zoroark's trade ability to get rid of the execute. Draw 2. Oh, perfect. Drew another Zoroark. Let's propagate again. Okay, I'm going to bench the Oranguru. And then I would have loved to get an N or something this turn, but I'm going to save that last trade until after I chorus, because I didn't draw a double colorless. Okay, that actually worked out really well. Let's get execute back and trade a 3rd time. Beautiful. Okay. So let's see. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 Pokemon. So I'm gonna compress. And we can throw away the Hex, because we have one in hand. I don't think we need to get rid of anything else. And we're going to take both of our executes out of the discard for sure. Because we're about to drop that Alolan Muck. And then the last thing I'll do is I'll bench Tapu Lele, just so we can Wonder Tag for a Guzma might be nice, because we already have the Chorus with our VS Seeker in hand. So I'll take Guzma. So attach to the active, evolve into Muck, and then ride a Speeding. So we are definitely overkilling this Joltik here. But what it does mean is he has to either attack with Tapu Lele or with Zoroark. And if he's attacking with Zoroark, then we can take easy one-hit knockouts. And he's going to definitely struggle to fill up his bench the same way that we will. There is a chance he could do it this turn, although he only has 3 more basic Night Marchers in the deck, so he would have to get all 3 of those plus another Pokemon, plus a Choice Band and a double colorless in order to take the one-hit knockout. Oh, it looks like he's gonna Guzma. Oh, interesting. Okay, and we'll get rid of Tapu Lele. Okay, so he's knocking out the Muck. That's actually okay with us, because hopefully we'll be able to draw into a Choice Band this turn, and then we can, if we draw into a Choice Band, then we can fill up our bench and Hex Maniac in order to prevent Marshadow from being a threat. Okay, so yeah, we can get the egg back. I generally like the cards in my hand. I want to keep most of those. Okay, finally, there's the Choice Band. So let's Skyfield. Choice Band the active. We can attach this to the bench. We can propagate again, and we can Ultra Ball away those 2 eggs. And get a Sudowoodo. And now he has to go down to 4 bench. That's fine, discard the Shaman. I don't really mind. And we'll do it again and get that last Sarua. Probably should have looked at the rest of my deck, but oh well. Going a bit fast. And then the last thing we need to do is get those 2 eggs out of the discard. Bench them. There we go. Hex Maniac, and then take the 1-hit knockout. Yeah, sad face. There's our red card. Okay, perfect. We can use that next turn. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I'm thinking even if he does take a knockout this turn, we can do is hit red card and Hex Maniac and just force him to be able to retreat, and get another Night Marcher on the board. Okay, so he's going to Cynthia. So I would say there's actually a pretty good chance he gets the knockout this turn. But that is fine with us. If he doesn't get the knockout, oh, okay, discarding again. And let's drop the Oranguru. We're never going to use that. Oh, perfect. Okay, so he didn't get the knockout, which is a big deal for us because, yeah. Let's see. How many Pokemon does he have in his discard? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 Pokemon. We could get the Oricorio back. For sure we want to... Yeah, for sure we want to start by putting out that Skyfield. Evolving up into our last Zoroark GX. And we can put the Floatstone on Sudowoodo, I think. Okay, so I'm gonna double puzzle. And we're gonna get back Oricorio. And let's see. Yeah, Oricorio and Skyfield, because we don't need any more Pokemon since we still have that Rescue Stretcher in deck. I'm going to drop Oricorio, and I think we could actually make the safe play Acerola this. Just send up Oricorio. Oh, okay, he conceded. Yeah, we definitely had that one in the bag. We're going to be able to take out his only attacker. It was just going to be impossible for him to win, because with 3 trades on the board, it would be almost impossible for him to take a knockout, or sorry, to stop us from taking a 2-prize knockout. So let's move on to one final game. I can continue my tournament report at this point. So we beat the Zoroark Lycanroc in round 5, we beat the Zoroark Mirror in round 6, and then round 7, we're at 5-1 at this point. I know I need to go 6-1-2 at a minimum, and I come up against Greninja, which is not a good matchup. Sam Huff playing it. And basically, we went back and forth. I was able to take the first game, actually, just because he got a slow start and wasn't able to evolve into more than one Greninja every turn. But game 2, he ran away with that. And then game 3, he would have won that, but we didn't have nearly enough time to finish, because we had played 2 almost complete games. Oh, nice. Okay, so we won the flip. So that ended up in a tie. I'm now 5-1-1. I'm now 5-1-1, and I know that I need to win my next round. At the very least, I can't lose my next round. Oh, Metagross. Okay, this will be interesting. So we'll start with Battle Compressor. Let's see. Both of these. So let's check the other Lele's in there. That's good. And let's discard Chorus. Oh, we are missing several draw supporters. That's good to know. And we... Oh, no, they're in hand. In that case, let's drop an Acerola. Okay. That's fine. So we can get back both our eggs this way, and then Ultra Ball for free, which is so nice. Honestly, I feel like they might decide that Execute's a little too overpowered, and decide to ban him from Expanded, which I would be sad to see Execute go, but I would be on board with that. It's such a powerful card, and with Zoroark really ruling the format, it makes it so Execute's even more powerful. Let's get the ugly art out of there. Only nice art. So we'll get 3 Zorua. That seems like the most important thing right now. And then we can attach here and pass to him. So round 7, I tied against Greninja. I need to win my next round, and oh no. I'm paired up against Buzzwole Garbodor. And honestly, I feel like that is somewhat positive for me. I don't feel like there was a good enough Buzzwole deck coming into the tournament such that it could consistently beat Zoroark. Zoroark is just so strong. Okay, well, he just drew past. That's unfortunate. So in that case, we will do one more game. Here we go. And the reason for that is Foul Play Zoroark. When I'm able to turn 2, Foul Play Absorption GX or Foul Play Knuckle Impact if I have a Choice Band attached, really puts so much pressure on them that it's hard for them to come back from that. They have a lot of trouble one-shotting my Zoroarks. It takes a decent amount of effort, and it is not very hard for Zoroark to one-shot a Buzzwole. So I felt like generally I was going to be favored going into this. Let's see what they're playing. I'm not quite sure what this is. Oh, is it Glaceon? I assume it's Glaceon. Maybe they just don't have a water energy. Oh, Getsis. Interesting. Well, we have the N, and we can actually attach our double colorless if we choose to. But against Buzzwole, I actually completely dead drew the first game, and I was like, okay, you know what? We have 2 more games to go. It'll be okay. Ooh. This is hard, actually. I don't want to discard that double colorless, but getting the Bridget off turn 1 would be really incredible. I think I'm going to go for the Bridget. Okay, so we'll Bridget, and we'll get 2 Zorua, and we'll get a 3rd Zorua. Well, yeah, I think that's right. Okay, so game 2 against Buzzwole Garb, he started with Trubbish, drew, and passed, and I was able to get the turn 2 knockout, so that was bad luck for him. Game 3 was a bit more normal of a game, and I was able to use foul play and just sort of overwhelm his attackers. He wasn't able to do very much. So I was able to take that, and assuming that I didn't get like badly down paired or something, I was going to be safe to make it into day 2 with an intentional draw. Wow, this is really awful luck. Okay, I think I need to discard this puzzle. Get a Zoroark. And we can't attach double colorless unless we have our own stadium in play. So it's important to get that Skyfield down. And we'll just smack the Glaceon for 80. So then round 9, I got paired up. We were at table 5. And yeah, so just intentional draw. And moved on to day 2. Day 2 was a little simpler, a little more standard actually with what I played against. Got a couple weird decks day 1. But I faced Sam Huff again with Greninja, which was unfortunate to face him twice. Greninja's not a good matchup, and again, we ended with a tie. And then round 11, I faced up against the Zoroark mirror match. Jimmy Zhang, great player from Southern California, but I just had luck on my side. I was able to hit the combos when he was 1 card short, and so I took that game. And then round 12 against another Zoroark mirror, I believe that was Benjamin Salonga, another fantastic player, and another fantastic player, and that came out to a tie as well, unfortunately. So then my next round, I knew going in that I needed either I needed a win in order to stay in contention for top 8. And so I was against Zoroark Execute with a 1/1 Lycanroc. I don't think he played any fighting energy, it was just for the gust. And I took game 1, and then he took game 2, and we decided beforehand that tying wasn't going to help either of us. So if there was a clear situation where someone was ahead, they would get game 3, even if game 3 didn't finish. So game 3 was coming down, time was called, and he wasn't actually able to close out the game, but he was really close. And so I had turn 3 of time. I did my best. I took like my first 2 prizes, and then just conceded to him to give him a chance. He was a nice guy. And I knew that I could still potentially make... I knew that I could still potentially make top 16 if I won my last round. And it turns out I would have made top 16 if I had won the last round, but wasn't able to do it. Got faced up against Drew Kennett with Aerodactyl Gallade, which was a really interesting deck. So fun to play against. It really was a pleasure, and it's always fun to see these kind of like out there ideas make it, and it reminded me a lot of Night March actually as a deck, but just with a little bit different engine and seemingly a lot more fun. So I was able to take game 1 and game 2 and 3 were much more solidly in his favor. It really did hurt that I didn't play Getsis in my list. I chose to cut Getsis in favor of a second Hex Maniac. But my day 2 didn't go too well. Ended up 1, 2, and 2. But that did leave me with a final record of 7, 3, and 4, and I ended up in 27th place. So I am happy about my finish. It was my first day 2 at a tournament, and I'm just so happy with how it went. Let's evolve that before we go. Okay. I'm so happy with how it went. I loved the deck, and in hindsight, I would have made a couple changes just in terms of the list, but I have nothing to complain about. This game here, however, is not working out, so we're just going to concede that. But I hope you saw the power of the deck, and also just now the power of that Glaceon lock against Zoroark. I'm glad I didn't have to play too many of those, just the one, but I think this is such an incredible deck, and either this or the version with 4 Execute and no Muck are probably the 2 best decks in Expanded right now, with Drampa Garbodor being close behind. So if you have any Expanded events coming up, I definitely recommend trying out this deck and this list. Some potential changes you could make: cut Oranguru in favor of another Pokemon. Could be anything. And I might cut cut a Field Blower for another red card. That would be a big difference. And then I would either cut an Acerola or a Hex Maniac for a Getsis. Just depending on what you expect in your metagame, those are the 2 cuts I might make. So thank you all so much for listening. I hope you're able to learn a bit about the deck and enjoy some of the games. And hope you all have a nice day. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.